How you doing, everybody?
Hey.
This is Elvis and your favorite Asian, Matt. Today we're recording again after a long time.
Yeah.
Today, my friends, we're going into the past, life, future, and relationships, and the present.
We should make a really jacked up thumbnail.
And it's going to be a really shitty order like that. We're going to be talking about the future, and then how the future correlates with the past, and how the present correlates to the future past, and how fucking... It's going to be some wild-ass ride, but we not planning this shit, so take it away, Matt. Where do you want to start?
First question, how many of those brain pills did you take? Because you're on a whole new level right now, man.
I don't know if it was the brain pills.
All right.
I take just to give you guys some context. I'm experimenting with a new supplement. It's a nootropic. If you guys don't know about nootropics, just do your own research. They're actually pretty interesting. And this is a nootropic called Brain Elevate. I did my research on all of the chemicals in there, and they all seem to check out, and they're actually necessary to, sort of stop brain degradation as you age and things like that. So it's and because I'm not very focused during the semester, partly because of sleep loss.
I should probably state though, they're not sponsoring this podcast, so yeah, we got no affiliations. This man bought it with his own money.
Oh fuck no, we're not sponsored with them, man. I don't even know if it's good yet. I'm testing it, man. I'm in week 2, week 3.
You heard it then, folks. Compelling Conversations got sponsored by, I don't even know what the heck this thing's called.
We definitely did not get sponsored by them, but anyway, man.
Right,
so what are we getting into today, my boy?
Well, I don't know, man. You're usually the brains in this.
I'm the brain? How am I the brain?
Well, see, you're the brain and I'm the mouth because I talk, but I don't think when I'm speaking. But you're quiet, but your brain's doing all the chatter, but you're not speaking, so I don't know what you're thinking.
Well, shit, dude. Let me take it away then, man.
Okay.
So, I think last time we talked about life, future, and relationships, we just graduated. It was a rainy day. It was, me and Matt just kind of... Here, let me put a little bit of a clip to get your guys' memory jogging. Let me pause.
All right.
Yeah,
it's kind of like
a TV show. It's like you want to know what's the series finale. After that, it's like you think it would have made you happy, but it didn't. It just made you sad because now it's over.
Yeah, and plus, I guess a good side question is, what makes you happy? I guess not what makes you happy, but what defines happiness? Because being happy to you, Elvis, may not be being the same definition of being happy to me, and whatnot. But I agree. Yeah.
But that creates a moral dilemma, I guess, when it comes to relationships, because me being some desperate piece of crap nerd freaking high schooler who's never really had a girlfriend, I was like so caught up in getting a girlfriend and finally doing this thing, and so I could be able to talk about it. And dude, I don't know why I'm spewing this shit. I'm literally going deep here, and people are gonna judge that shit out of me.
I feel like you're going deep with this, so I have to go deep with this after this.
No, that's not why I'm doing it. I'm literally just putting my whole psyche on the line right here.
Oh my gosh.
So basically, dude, I did this, and I was so invested into talking to certain girls, and I'm not gonna say I wasn't sincere with these people, but and a lot of the times it didn't work out, but.
We were on that situation, but I feel like, which, by the way, for the viewers who are watching or listening to this, I'm just getting to what Elvis is saying right now. He's never told me this, but Elvis knew about my issues, which are very relatable to Elvis because I told him everything, and he was there when that all happened.
Yeah.
That's a side note. So
I don't know if you have to tell your really deep shit, but
I'll go to it.
Let me just complete what my point was.
Definitely. I'll go into my point. I'll see.
So basically, I was just saying that I finally got a girlfriend, and it's like everything was great. I fulfilled my wish. It's like I got an awesome girlfriend, and she's a great person, dude. She's an incredible person. But then I realized that like my friends were leaving, and I was leaving, and it was selfish of me to try to get this girlfriend when I was leaving, and I knew I was going to be invested with hanging out with friends this summer, so I didn't really give her very much attention. I didn't hang out with her this much. So, long story short, I'm not going to say her name because I don't really want to.
Yeah, that's understandable.
None of their business, honestly.
Yeah, no, it's.
So I'm I have a chance of staying in Missouri forever, and I'd be happy doing that. It's okay, dude. I'd be happy doing that to the point that it's almost like I feel like I've kind of abandoned her, and I've been this person that I never wanted to be, which is not a very good boyfriend, not giving my girlfriend enough attention, and so I felt horrible about that throughout this whole relationship, and I didn't want to be that. And so now that I'm leaving, I said I basically have to break up with her, but if I come back, then maybe we can try again.
Yeah.
So that's just an example of how leaving. But another thing is, like, I thought this relationship would make me super happy, and that's because I was seeking fulfillment. And after I did seek all this fulfillment, I completed all these relationship goals or whatever that I dreamed about for so many years. It's like all of a sudden it wasn't as great as I thought it would be.
Yeah.
And it's not that I didn't have feelings for it. It's just not nearly as important to me as I thought it would have been.
Yeah. No, I completely understand.
At this point in my life, at least.
Yeah. And I guess it also shows how we don't like change. Because we can see what change can do. It can definitely do a lot of things that could hurt us, and you get the idea from there. But at the same time, change is what brings a new future. It's what puts new things out there. As much as we hate change.
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, it's.
So what are you gonna say now, Matthew? Like,
okay, so
my implication about Arizona State.
And we're back.
So
that was a shit show.
Two things I'm only going to say about that podcast from what year did it come out?
I just clicked a random spot, by the way, guys.
2016. Two things I'm going to just say right now. How fast do I speak? Because I don't remember speaking that fast.
You still fucking speak that damn fast, dude.
Shut up. And second of all, why was the stuff we talk about so cringy?
Dude, the stuff we're going to talk about today is going to be cringy tomorrow.
Oh my god.
Dude,
You're not wrong.
Every word that comes out of our fucking mouths is cringy. Did you see that shit that, like, Andrew posted that I said on Facebook?
Oh, hey.
Andrew just goes on Facebook and he posts this random ass shit that I say. I was like, one day I was talking to him, I was a little brain elevated. And I'm just like, Andrew, like, what was it? What was the fucking quote again? Oh, it was a good friend would rejoice if his friend told him that he had purpose to live, more so than if he told him he won the lottery. And I don't know, it's just or cringy bastards.
Definitely.
That fucking shit I just said right now is cringy.
A good friend would rejoice happily when you tell them you found a reason to live, more so than when you've told them you won the lottery.
That was like fucking months ago too.
Yeah, the fact that he
remembered it too.
He remembered it and posted it recently.
Must have meant something to him apparently.
Yeah.
Well, because we were having like a heart to heart, and he was talking about how he recently has found like a purpose to live.
I actually got mad at him about that. I was like, "Where's my quotes?"
I saw that.
I know I said a lot of inspirational stuff, but maybe no one listens to me. Anyways, so regarding about the little snippet. You mentioned Missouri forever. I'll be living in Missouri forever.
That's what I fucking thought. I know. It's sad.
And you had to break a relationship that you're committed and happy in.
I'm always interviewing you. Why don't you ask me a question? Like, you don't ask very many questions. If you're gonna bring this up, why don't you ask me a question?
Yeah, that's what I'm about to get into. What made you think you would live in Missouri for a while? Like, obviously we know now that's not the case, but like at the time, what drove you to think like, I may not be coming back to this Fallout 4 of a city?
You know what, man? That's an interesting point, dude. And what we were talking about hits close to home. It cuts close to the bone because we're always going through a river of change. And what we think is important, what we think what we want, might in a year from now not actually matter to us anymore. And it's like in the moment though, it's just we want it so bad, and that was a soul crushing reality that I had to go through with Morgan, as I was talking about on there. It's just I thought I really thought that getting a girlfriend would make me happy, you know, right? But it turned out that I didn't really want it for the right reasons, and I didn't even realize it. I just wanted to be able to say that I basically like had a girlfriend and like, you know.
It's like for show, social media, socially.
Yeah, and I didn't realize that that's what I wanted. And that's not even completely it either. I was, you know, but that was the main reason, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Well, let me ask you this: what, in general, what makes you think
that I was going to stay in Missouri and all that?
No. I meant I was going to leave you to that similar question about what I was talking about social media. Is what drives people to seek for fame? You know, what drives, you know, the majority of girls, but some guys, you know, about how many followers I have on Instagram and how many people like my photo on Facebook. You know, what drives this urge of like, you know, I want to be famous. I want people to notice me. What do you think it personally stems from?
Okay, I'm gonna give that one a short answer that leads into the long answer about the original question.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the answer to that question is the fact that we live in an internet era that is still early in its birth, and it's going to grow and grow and grow. And every new technology has its strong and, you know, unseen effects on society. The fact that we had the first, you know, industrial revolution because of fucking trains and canals. I don't even know if it was trains. I think it might have just been canals, mostly. No, it was trains too. But that, you know, imagine a train was going to completely alter the way society works entirely. And there was all this disaster that happened as a result of it on an internal level. Like the minds of people,
Mm-hmm.
the family structure, the culture. It was a profound effect that those trains and canals made. And that's what the internet is. And you see now that the mental health crisis has gone up significantly ever since fucking, you know, Facebook made it so that any 11-year-old could have social media. And it's an unseen for thing. So right now it's like we live in a culture, we live in a generation that grew up in a coevolution with a large technology. And so therefore our generation and our generation's culture is intertwined with the evolution of this technology. And it's almost as if in order to be a part of society, it seems as if in order to be part of society, you have to fucking give in to this thing.
So you firmly believe...
Everyone does it because everyone else does it. And they want to impress each other, and it's part of some weird social dynamic that is a result of this whole thing I just explained.
And so at the root, you essentially think it's just the way how rampant that information is be able to be spread. I mean, like you said, I mean, you know...
Yeah.
You know, before, you know, you weren't able to barely communicate, I mean, you know, at all. And then you talk about canals where information can spread.
Well, it's added a new layer to the complex dynamics of social hierarchies.
Mm-hmm.
Because before, you know, social hierarchies on the fucking school ground were simple. The top dog guy would beat the crap out of the bottom dog guy. You could tell who was the fucking alpha male because of who was the buffest and who had the hottest chicks. It was all pretty basic shit. It was a pretty simple dominance hierarchy. And now we have the internet, and you have deceit and status and like who has the best car and who has the pictures of the best trips, and it's just like there's all these new complexities through, like you said, an expanse of information and the ability to spread that information quickly that has made the social hierarchies extremely multifaceted and complex. And so that's why you see that everyone is always posting something, because it's a weird thing. It's like a fucking...
We're like in a social ladder that we don't really realize we're in.
And we don't want to be in it either.
Mm-hmm.
Like, nobody fucking wants that, dude. That shit's fucking can't... It's horrible, man. It's actually like... It's just fucking bad, dude. I've been taking a break from social media. And I just fucking started it this weekend again. Started using social media, and I've already seen how the fucking brain parasite's starting to fuck with me, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like the second I started using social media, I became more depressed.
Oh yeah.
The second I fucking opened it, dude, And it's just fucking, it's a parasite that digs deeper and deeper. And you have to fucking pull the whole fucking tapeworm out, man.
Yeah.
You can't cut off the tail. You have to pull the whole fucking thing off.
And I believe I don't know if you ever saw, but I actually made a social media story. I basically posted my story at the time on Instagram and Snapchat when I was driving around, saying that, basically agreeing with you that I believe, social media isn't, if you were to talk about social media from back in the day, like when the MySpace era came out, social media was literally out just for trying to stay in contact with friends that you weren't able to stay in contact normally would, right?
Yeah, it was basically
then,
just, because friends move away and you want to still be able to talk to them.
And now it's like an era where you see something and it's just complex.
You've got your Facebook wall, and you've got who's in the featured friends picture, the featured pictures bubble, and like you've got your fucking, oh, he just changed his profile picture, the girl's not in it anymore. Oh, he put the
relationship status.
Or he put the French flag thing filter over his picture because he likes
pray for Paris.
He wants to pray for Paris.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's like it's all this fucking weird thing is where you now have the ability to communicate your fucking morals, your basically political standings, and all this shit ingrained into an identity tag online. Yeah. That's fucking weird. Putting an identity tag for the entire world to see, and that's like, it's weird, man. It's like that's what Facebook is.
Yeah, and before going back to the original question, funny that you sorry.
That was a long one. That was a good fucking little tangent, wasn't it?
That was, but no, it's funny how you mentioned about that because the Pray for Paris incident. That was I had a friend one time, in San Jose that I went to college with, and I asked his opinion because, I said, what do you think about after the incidents that went down in Paris? What did you what's your opinion about, because after that incident happened, around the world changed all their like iconic statues to red, white, and blue. I mean, you had the famous Empire State Building change its spire to the red, white, and blue for the French flag. I know, in Japan, I believe they changed the Tokyo Tower, which is the replica of the Eiffel Tower. It's just around the world. Like in San Francisco, they changed their city hall to match the red, white, and blue of France. And I asked my friend, all these countries. It wasn't just these few countries around the world. Was literally like putting all these lights on their iconic figures, to, like
showing some love to France.
Solidarity. Yeah, and I asked my friend. I said, "What did you think about that?" And he literally told me that's just all a media ploy. If you really genuinely wanted to help France, you would be giving money to help the victims. You would be trying to eradicate these so-called terrorists. All these people that are just putting lights on basically a piece of figure. It's just all for the media frenzy, social media frenzy, essentially.
Yeah, it's all about making money. Someone fucking planted that seed. And it all started with a little Facebook filter thing.
And then everyone just...
And it fucking blew up fast, and you know how much money they probably made off of that?
Probably. But going back to the original question, what made you think you were going to stay in Missouri?
That's a good one. That's a good question. Man, the real reasons are just... growing up, like, going to Missouri, as a kid every summer, I really always enjoyed it, I really always loved being in Missouri, and I always looked up to my Uncle Stuart, and my Uncle Stuart's the saxophone professional who gave me a saxophone, right, and got me to start playing. I remember a long time ago, my dad and Uncle were talking about, what if, like, Brian or me lived with Stuart for a year, my uncle. And, like, I was scared to do it back then. But then, like, after high school ended, I was like, what if I did try to do that? And make a life for myself in Missouri. And I genuinely thought that I would go to Missouri and everything would be sunshine and roses and sunshine and rainbows, and that, I would somehow fucking get into some trade school and make a blue-collar career for myself. That's what I literally thought I was going to do. I actually thought that would work. And I was just naive and young. I was naive because there's a lot of other social factors. Like, let me explain the social factors because this is the important part. And then I'll let you talk. Sorry.
Yeah, sure. No, go ahead.
I know I'm rambling a lot today.
Hey, table's turned, dude.
Cool, man. But, so we've got the fucking... first thing is the fact that my dad was being an ass. I love my dad, but at that time, like, the second half of senior year, he was just, I don't know. You know how, like, sometimes dads, like, for months at a time, will just get really, like, harder on you for some reason? Probably because shit's not going so well at work. So they'll kind of take your anger out on you a little bit.
There's many reasons, but yeah, I see what you're saying.
And I think it was a really long, like, time that my dad I was just getting sick of his bullshit. That's also because I was probably being, like, a fucking 18-year-old, And,
rebellious teenage
and I had a girlfriend at the time, so I didn't spend any time at home because it was either girlfriend or friends. And I was like, fuck the household. I'm not going to help my dad out with shit.
Yeah.
So I was kind of probably being a piece of shit myself. I don't know. But, and the other thing is just the fact that at the end of senior year, it's just like you hear about all your classmates going to some college or transferring to some college. Like Matt was going to San Jose, and it's like it's almost like a feeling of shame that I was going through the idea of staying in Ridgecrest after Burroughs, because everyone was leaving, and I felt a feeling of shame for staying in Ridgecrest. So the only part of the only reason I was moving to Missouri is because I was trying to stay caught up, and it was all because of that social media thing. Kind of, it's like it was all just because I wanted to look like I was going out living in a different state to do something with my life too, and I wasn't really. I just moved to Missouri for 6 months, and there was no real purpose for it. It was a great experience. It helped me learn a lot about myself. I needed the 6 months of solitude because at the end of senior year, I was just anyway. But does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. It's fascinating how you said it that way, especially, and I agree with you about you're seeing people doing things, and it kind of puts that drive in you, like if someone is doing this, I want to do that, and I know what it's like. I was in your situation for that for the time being, and I you'd be surprised after when Rotzi discharged me for
dude, reasons. Okay, that's fucking a good tangent, because that was basically like your life disappointment that happened.
Yeah, but the funniest thing is you mentioned about how, like, you see your surroundings and you see people doing things, and you're like, oh man, what am I doing with my life? I'm sitting here, I'm not doing really anything, or at least that's what you're thinking normally in general, right? And you're like, I must do something. And that's happened to me a few times. After I got discharged, I see all my friends doing the military, all branches: Army, Navy, Marines, Coast Guard, Air Force, and it kind of drove me a bit. Kind of like I questioned myself, like, well, what if I tried to re-enlist in the military, or did some other position, the National Guard, or even try to refute the medical discharge and try to get myself reinstated and back into the military, even though I'm pretty sure I know they're just gonna find another reason or throw me back out again. So,
damn, dude, that sucks.
But I know what it feels like. It's you'd be surprised that well, I wouldn't. I guess I shouldn't say it that way, but in a way, you kind of notice that you've heard me comment about the BS of society's ways. Society says we need to do this. Society says we have to do that. And you kind of have to think about it, that do you think it's really society itself, or is it really just you see the majority of people doing it and you just kind of follow the flow? Not really society, it's just the majority of your friends are doing this, and this is what you're doing.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, no. That definitely answers your question. I guess I had the sub question under that was, did you, regarding your thought about living in Missouri forever, would you say that you were technically living under, I wouldn't say a deceitful lie, but you're kind of living under this false image that, like, this is the key to the lock that I've been looking for, or something like that?
Okay, was I living under a public image, or was I living under an image that I was trying to convince myself of?
Convince yourself of.
Oh, was I doing that?
Yeah.
Man,
like, were there, like, any warning bells? Like, the human mind is very strong, right? And there is as much warning bells as there are. You can always convince yourself that something is much better than it really is.
Man, I part of me wants to say yes, and part of me wants to say no, because, on one hand, I was being a fucking naive ass 18-year-old who didn't really know what the fuck moving to Missouri was gonna be like, and didn't really have a plan. Like, I was just like, oh, I'll just live with my uncle and then see what I can do. It was like, there was no plan. There was no thought-out plan. And so, like, yeah, I kind of had, like, hopefulness for it, but I was just naive. And I was only hopeful for it because I was trying to convince myself that I could make something work, and it was only because I didn't want to go to Saracosa and be like those people.
Mm-hmm.
And so then when I went, and it just, and when I was living with my grandma, I was also living with my uncle, my other uncle,
Mm-hmm.
and he was an alcoholic, and, being around that made me depressed, and then I got lonely, and then I really started to question what the hell I was doing there, and that made it a lot worse, and then I was basically just trying to convince myself, because I could have left 3 months in, but I was trying to convince myself that I should try to make it work, so I decided to stay 6 more months, and then I tried to stay 6 months, and it was kind of, it was worth it, but I kind of was trying to convince myself of something. I knew that, I didn't really know what the fuck I was doing with my life, and I was just trying to look like I did. I really didn't, though.
The brain is a very powerful.
What about you, man? What about you? Were you convincing yourself that you had to be a pilot so you could live up to everyone's expectations that you identity tagged yourself with?
Yeah, so in some ways, I genuinely wanted to join the Air Force. When I finished senior year of high school, I did genuinely want to join the Air Force. I had a career and wanted to become a pilot. That has never changed. I don't think I was fooling myself in that one. That was just pure passion. I'm unstoppable, right? This is what I really want to do, right? And nothing will stop me. I'll beat down every wall that comes up, and that's why. I think where our situations, excuse me, I feel like where our situations start to line up is regarding college. As you know, I'm not a big fan of the university mentality, or college mentality for that matter.
Yeah.
I disagree. I was brought up in an environment. I won't specifically point to anybody in particular, just in general. I was brought up in an environment where if you went to community college, you were basically a dumbass. You were going to go nowhere in life. You're going to be a dropout. You're going to get a low-wage job working at McDonald's, and you're going to be homeless within the next 2 months. Genuinely, that's what I've been brought up to think. And, of course, now I know that's not the truth. That's not the case, right? That there are a lot of successful people who are doing Syracuse, or, community college.
It's kind of true in a weird way, though. That's the sad part, is that is very often true. And look at me, I'm delayed. I fucked around a little bit too much, and
Mm-hmm.
I've got like fucking 2 years left at a community college. I never wanted to be there for 4 years. Like,
yeah, and I feel like, again, where we where we relate is just the college environment. I genuinely didn't know I was going to go to San Jose State. I waited till the last minute to start applying for colleges, and I just started applying left and right. I really didn't know what college I was going to get into. I didn't even really have a particular major in mind. I just it's you're always convincing yourself.
I didn't know what the fuck I wanted either, man.
Yeah, no,
I
was just convincing myself okay, well, I like tech, I like film, I like planes. I'll find a major that does either all three or at least two or even one of the three, right? And so that's what happened, and I never really did research in college. I just applied to every college in California I could. San Diego, Riverside, Sacramento, Santa Cruz, you name it, right?
Can I give you a speculation about this?
Sure.
And I'll let you continue. It's just a side shoot to basically add fuel to your thought.
Sure.
Perhaps the reason this is such a common thing, that people go to college and regret it, and then they get a degree and regret it, and the reason people like you and me are logically concluding that trying to rush this whole fucking college thing because of societal pressures is really not a good idea, is because it's absolutely a scientific fact that our brains are continually developing until we're 25. So then you go to college and you fucking get your degree at 25, and all of a sudden you realize you don't like this shit because your brain just stopped developing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like you force someone to come to a decision of what they want to do with for the rest of their life before their brain has stopped developing. Are you out of your fucking mind?
Yeah, and
look at what we're stuck in, dude.
Yeah, I know. That's what I agree on. You know, when I finally did go into San Jose State, it was one of the few colleges that actually accepted me. I'm not a smart student, for anyone who thought I was smart, by the way. I genuinely questioned that. I was in my dorm room one time. It was back in 2016. And I genuinely questioned. I was like, 4 years is not... So, the policy of San Jose State, I'm pretty sure other colleges are like this as well, especially the universities. You can only stay undeclared for 2 years because, you know, what the heck are you doing with your life if you're still in college at your third and fourth year and you're undeclared, you know, like, you know, you're done with your GE classes, your general education classes, and you don't know what to do. And I genuinely sat down and I thought about that, and I was like, 2 years is not enough time for me to figure out what I want to do with my life. It's not enough time for me to figure out, this is what I want to do with the job, this is what I'm passionate in. You know, since 2016 up to now, I genuinely was still battling the question, should I continue my aviation degree? You know, at that time I was already questioning, was the Air Force right for me? You know, it's not like, you know, most people jump to the conclusion that it's like, oh, you know, I can't handle being yelled at or the pressures. And it's like, no, I don't mind at all. That's the goal of the military, is to make you a man, not a boy, right? Or
yeah,
in this case,
dude, I don't know why the hell people fucking go to the military and then bitch and moan about getting yelled at.
Yeah, no.
It's like, what the fuck? Did you ever see Full Metal Jacket? Like,
yeah.
Why would you join the military without thinking about whether or not you're getting yelled at? Are you retarded?
The best part about that scene, by the way, the Mickey Mouse song. I love that. Side note. Anyways, but genuinely, the only reason I was questioning about it was because there was just these doubts about, like, what if I couldn't get the position I wanted in the Air Force, or what if the Air Force let me go, and even then, you know, I was questioning, was the Air Force right for me? Because the thing you need to know about the military is that just because you go in doesn't mean that you're set. You know, as my former commanding officer told me from a long time ago, my second lieutenant told me that the Air Force is not for everyone, and you know, it's not always the same BS reasons of, oh, you know, I can't handle the stresses of the military and stuff like that. There's many reasons for that. You might get disqualified. Some family issues might happen. Opinions change. You know, anything, right? And since 2016 up to now, at that time up to now, I was questioning. You know, should I stay in the Air Force, or should I just continue an aviation degree, or should I even get a new degree entirely? You know, I really was in that situation, and very recently, I was in that situation. I was already out the Air Force. I didn't know if continuing an aviation major would be right for me, because, you know, here, to give you an idea, this is what I was dealing with on my plate. You know, the Air Force is an engineering degree. It's a really good degree. It's a science degree. It can get you where in life, and you have society telling you that, oh, you know, people who get BAs, you know, Bachelors of Arts, or MAs, Masters of Art, you know, people who get art degrees don't get anywhere in life. Like, let's be serious here, you know, what are you going to do with a liberal arts degree, you know? And so I've been brought up in that society where, you know, if you get a BA, you're going to fail in life, you know. I mean, you know, what are you going to do with a jazz studies degree, you know? Like, you know, people would judge you the heck out of that, you know?
Yeah, it sucks.
And that was a defining factor for why, you know, whether I should continue my degree or I should stop it, because basically, you know, it's just, you know, I don't, on one end, you know, here's a science degree that might get me more further in life than if I was to switch to a film degree, which was a BA.
Yeah.
But on the other end, it's like, I don't really care about flying anymore. My distaste in flying stemmed from me being kicked out of the Air Force. I don't want to fly anymore. You know.
You don't want to fly anymore? When did this happen?
It's always happened. It's just.
I didn't know you didn't want to fly.
I gave up becoming I gave up wanting to become a pilot.
It's okay, but one day you're gonna take some flight lessons and, you know, fly recreational. Right?
Yeah, but I give up trying to make that as a career.
Dude, you know, when we're both older and we both have, you know, good salaries, we're learning how to fly together, man. Because I'm gonna have to do that.
Oh heck yeah! I'm gonna even get helicopter lessons while we're at it. But no, going back to what I was saying though, yeah, I genuinely gave up with trying to make flying a career for myself. the Air Force, that wasn't a thing, and that's the best career you can get for flying, is doing it in the military. Civilian wise, I have to rack up 1,500 hours. That's not, it's not like, oh, I can fly a plane for 24 hours straight and get my pilot's license within 2 weeks. No, that doesn't happen, mate.
Yeah.
And to get, and I think I mentioned that in that previous podcast. I always kept saying 1,500 is that magic number, and it really is. But you don't realize how much money you invest in it. You're probably spending upwards of 20-30 grand of just paying your flight school to essentially let you fly a plane around in circles and be like, I know how to land a plane and I know how to fly it.
Dude, but if that's gonna help you get your foot in the door of some big airplane company that you can later like work your way up the ladder and then become some sort of filming like cameraman, like I don't know what the hell, but
yeah, but
you got to get your foot in the door with these type, dude. It's hard to get your job after college.
It is, and the thing is, that's what I'm hoping I can do. I like how we're going towards the future topic now. This is what I'm hoping.
I told you, it's just going to be a slithering snake through all these random fucking topics.
But
dude.
No, this is what I hope is actually going to happen is I finish college. I apply to all these aircraft corporations or any airlines or whatever. They're going to see I have an aviation degree, and they'll take me in, realize my specialty is in filmmaking, specifically video making. I shouldn't say filmmaking. Filmmaking's Hollywood, but video making. And hopefully they hire me in and put me in because of that. But that's just being really optimistic.
Well, you need to widen up your portfolio a little bit, man. I don't see you putting out enough content, man. I hate to say it, but you don't put enough content out. Like, I know you've got tons of fucking footage. You've got so much fucking shit on your computer that you could edit together and upload. Why don't you widen your portfolio a little bit, dude?
The funniest thing is he's not joking, folks.
Like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
I have almost 3 terabytes of just random B-roll footage, and I've only probably uploaded 2 gigabytes out of that 3 terabytes, which is 3,000 gigabytes.
You know how much fucking content I've put out with all the bullshit, crappy-ass footage that I've recorded?
Elvis here actually puts out, for every one video I put out that's pretty decent, Elvis here puts out like 10 videos
that are like moderately mediocre, and some of them that are kind of good.
Hey, quantity over quality, quality over quantity,
yeah.
Quality over quantity. So I'd be on that one, mate. Now.
Yeah, I know, but what I'm saying is,
I know what you're saying.
You should try to you've got the good focus on. I think your quality will get better with quantity.
Yes.
Because if you just put out more and more and get more and more feedback, dude, I'm ready to give you a report anytime you ask me. If you want me to give you my full analysis, I'll write you a 1,500 word paper.
1,500 page paper. Yeah.
I'll write you a 1,500 word paper, man. If you what I'm saying is, I think you should just start working on a lot of quick edit. Give yourself a challenge one day. Like wake up and say, okay, before the end of the day,
I'm gonna edit this video.
I have fucking like 1 hour. Like, no, you don't even, just before the end of the day, I have to complete one video that's 3 minutes long, and then fucking do it. You could even film like around college and film a day in the life.
I've actually done that. Actually, you'd be surprised. I have done that. That North Korea video, you probably didn't know this, but that was a challenge for myself. The research, plan, and edit and export this video within the span of 12 hours.
Do that again. Do it more often.
I genuinely did that. When I video edited that North Korean video, I worked from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. straight, doing nothing but editing, research, and editing.
Okay, here. I've got an idea then. I've got a semester-long challenge for you.
He's got to challenge people.
I've got a fucking semester-long...
Better watch out for yourselves here.
All right, no, this is a big challenge, man. Are you ready to accept the challenge?
Okay, how can I accept it? You haven't told me yet. Okay,
here's the challenge. This semester, for every video that I upload to Facebook or YouTube, you have to upload 2.
Oh, heck
yeah, no. You gotta 2-to-1 me, bro. You gotta fucking 2-to-1 me. It doesn't matter how long they are either. You could upload 2 fucking 1-minute videos as long as you can tell that you put cinematic effort into it.
You better be careful with your words with that, because I can just put a 1-second black screen and say, hey, look, there's my video.
No, I specify. This is the audible contract. It has to look as if you put some sort of cinematic or editing effort into it. It can't just be a random half-ass video. It has to be a legitimate effort to the video. Oh, it just doesn't matter how. It doesn't have to be 20 minutes. It doesn't have to match my time.
Okay, and what if it's due to time constraints? Say you uploaded 2 videos and I still haven't finished yet. Do those just pile up as a queue? So like, say you uploaded 1 video and I'm supposed to make 2, but I couldn't do it for some time reasons or whatever. But you upload a second video. Does that mean I have to make 4 videos now within like a spread out time frame? Do those all queue up, or do I have to like instantly like, okay, I have to make 2 videos as soon as I see your first video?
No, you just have to make the 2 videos, man. There's no excuses for them.
Come on, you have to let me queue them up at least. Like, okay, what if I'm behind? I'll put 4 videos out.
Well, here's the problem, dude. You know that I'm not gonna record fucking videos all the time, right?
That is true. You do put very.
You
hardly put videos out.
I don't put videos out that often. I was planning on doing a little bit more often now.
Mm-hmm.
But it's enough for you to do 2 to 1 with me.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough.
This isn't that big of a challenge because I don't really upload that much,
mm-hmm.
but it's decent enough that it'll give you some extra practice.
Fair enough. Okay. Yeah. You know what? I'll do it.
Starting with the video that I just uploaded to Facebook.
When this podcast is over, someone's getting punched. By the way.
I still haven't gotten permission to publicize it, but
yeah. Oh yeah. Okay, got you there.
Yeah, so it doesn't count yet. You have to wait till it's publicized, so that means you might not even have to make any.
Probably. So, where does this leave us now?
We're going to continue in a moment. We're just going to take a quick break.
Oh, yeah.
All right, guys. We're back.
That was an amazing piss break.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it was. And then me and Matthew had this long conversation about religion, and yeah, it was pretty,
Don't be a dick. That's all you need to know, and you would do well in society.
That's the whole conversation was composed of that, basically.
Don't be a dick.
I don't know. But anyway, dude, you know what we haven't gotten into yet, which I feel like, if Matt's here, it's got to be part of the conversation.
Turn the tables, dude. Fire away.
Relationships.
Oh, hell no. Okay, I'm about to leave
Come
this.
on. Tell me what you think, man. What's up with you, my man? Like, tell me, in senior year, you were all like, demoralized.
So, to make a long story short, I was in a relationship in senior year of high school, contrary to me saying I was single. To make a TLDR, essentially, it's like what you said. I had a girlfriend. I was happy.
Wait, was it an online
but
thing?
It was an online long-distance relationship, which I know a lot of people do judge for, and people judge me for that one, at least. If you judge me for anything else, I'll punch you. But, for that online ODR, yes, I was in one. To make it short, though, people might ask 2 questions. Why did you say you're single when you're really in a relationship? And why did you even consider an LDR if you have such a negative connotation of it? To make it really short, I wanted an LDR a girlfriend, LDR, because, similar to social media, or not only social media, but like what you were talking about, that sense of happiness. You mentioned about your relationship with Morgan. I'm not sure if you're allowed to say that.
Yeah.
You mentioned your relationship with Morgan, and you I believe in that podcast you mentioned I wanted to be happy, and I felt like the relationship was just this key to the lock that I needed to just unlock.
That's what I naively thought as an 18-year-old.
And I was in the same situation. I went out for an ODR for that reason, and nonetheless, she was amazing. Actually, she was an amazing partner. I don't think any ill will of her. She's amazing. She's probably doing her own life. I haven't talked to her since. But she's an amazing partner. We went through ins and outs together. And the only reason we ever split was actually because of the distance, ironically enough. It was just too much. And that's to be given with any LDR. That's why I praise people who do LDRs and are still together for 10 years, okay, good for you guys. I can't do that. And to answer the second question, why did I claim to be still single when I clearly was in a relationship during that time? And that was just because that really had to do more of like what you were talking about earlier with social media. Basically, I had a girlfriend, but I couldn't physically call her my girlfriend because she wasn't with me. I wasn't, I didn't have partners at the time like you and Morgan and
It's not exactly the same, is it?
Yeah, they're not in person, and so that was the main reason why I kept getting upset about it. I just my actual goal during my senior year was to actually find a girlfriend in person. It sounds really dickish if you think about it, but at that time, when there was a saying that I believe you told me one time, Elvis, where if a man gets backed into a corner, or even if an animal gets backed into a corner, it will do things that normally wouldn't do to fight to survive. And a lot of people are going to judge me for this, but essentially my goal was, okay, I'm in an LDR to temporarily make me happy, and but I do genuinely love her though. Let's not throw the card down trying to use somebody, because that's not the point here. The point was I was just trying to make myself happy, and then I'll find somebody in senior year, date him, and of course that LDR I'll break it up normally, and just genuinely the distance was a genuine reason. Technically I barely was able to handle that.
Dude, didn't the same thing basically happen to you again in college? Man, because, if we're going to get vulnerable about our own problems and insecurities and how we make repeated mistakes with girls, I'm ready to do that, because this is very relevant to me.
Are you talking about what happened in my... Well, just recently, right? The one that happened...
Well, there's multiple, actually. Multiple long-distance relationships that were originally going to be, just temporary things, and then you got way invested in some
I don't know which one you're talking
horrible
about.
thing happened as a result.
Yeah, I don't know which one you're talking about. Anyways, but no, there are some LDRs. There are some LDRs that I have done where it's just supposed to be a temporarily fill hole, but I still need to emphasize that this is not what it seemed. I don't want to make it seem like I'm trying to use an individual just for my happiness and then throw them to the side like they didn't significantly matter, because no, that's not the case. I did genuinely love that person, but at the same time, it is a man can only be alone in his life for so long before things start to get to him, and so that was the point of the LDR. But my goal in life, and in a way my goal now, is to find somebody that I can be with in person. I've given up the LDR stuff, similar to how you've given up with social media. I've given up with LDRs. I don't personally believe in it anymore.
I've never even really tried, but
I don't,
because I knew I wouldn't be capable of it.
I don't believe in LDRs. I personally don't believe they work out, but if they do, good for you.
I tried it. I would have tried it, but I knew it wouldn't work.
I'm not gonna despise a person for being in an LDR. If that's what they want to do, go ahead. But my firm stance of LDR, at least based on what I've learned, is that it's not a real relationship.
It's not. I technically had one for like a week or something, but that was
It's not a real relationship. You can't be with that person. Everything you're doing is just through a plastic screen and a camera. If you are doing that, and if not, then you're just reading words off a piece of plastic that you type on a piece of plastic, ironically enough.
Yeah, man. Because I need to see the person in real life, just not to get... so that I don't get completely insecure.
And that's what I miss out of being in an actual relationship, which the last physical relationship I was in was... middle school maybe? It's been a long time ago. And that's just what I miss out of relationship. It's the physicality.
Physical touch.
Being able to hug that person and et cetera, et cetera. I don't have to go into fine
everybody
details.
puts value on. There's like 4 different categories of values in relationships, and people arrange them in different ways. Mm-hmm. One of them is physical touch. One of them is quality time. And then there's 2 other ones. Mm-hmm. I think one was gifts, like.
Oh yeah. I know
you value gift giving.
Yeah, I know. You're
and I think the last one had something to do with. I don't know what the last one was.
Yeah. But
so for you, physical touch is like at the top of that probably.
To make I genuinely.
For me, it's up there too.
I
need it. I really need it.
I do, and I guess I should come clean saying this is going to be ironic. It'd be hilarious to listen to now, but yeah, I've never actually been. Well, how about the word? It sounds really weird, but I've never been physical with a girl before. Genuinely, I think the most I've ever done with a girl is probably hold hands. So what? I've never hugged I've hugged people, but I haven't hugged like my girlfriend. Yeah. I haven't did any. I've never kissed or anything like that, right? So. You know,
That sucks, man.
I definitely do lack the physical touch, and I think that's why it's top of the list, is because I've missed out on so much of that. And we'll just keep it at that.
Well, that takes
But-
us back though to the original kind of question theme: is do you want it because other people have it and talk about it and identity tag themselves with
You
it
know-
on social media, or do you actually want it because you would feel like, you know, intrinsically you want it for your own personal reasons?
And you know, that's a very tough question, at least in my opinion, because it depends on what mental state you're in this case me. You know, back then I genuinely did want a girlfriend because, well, actually I take that back. I think it goes both ways, because on one end I think it'd be pretty cool to be like those your friends on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, and you post a couple pics and it's like, oh, he or she or whatever you guys believe in is you know, like, I love my significant other. They are, you know, he, she, whatever, are the best. You know, I love them to the maximum. And I think that's sweet on social media. You know, it'd be nice. I mean, have you noticed that those kind of couple pics get 300 likes on Facebook usually?
Yeah, they do.
But on the other end, I feel like, and similar to what you're saying, it is like a key. Again, I mentioned this a lot, but it's like a key to a missing lock, essentially, where, you know, you're going through hardship, and you know, it's just nice to, you know, that significant other to help you deal with the troubles of life. I feel so. To answer your question, basically, it's both. But the defining factor is it depends on your mental state, because there are some times where you look. If you were to ask me, okay, say I was to open Facebook right now, and you asked me that question, I would say obviously it's just so I can be like, so I can get fame.
Yeah.
You know, show people.
Yeah, you want the fame.
Show people, you know, I'm not this single depressed Asian kid that it's probably gonna end up on this, or in the minds of other people, it's gonna
For
end up on the
reputational reasons.
side on the street and is dead and everything. Like, no, I at that moment I would say, yeah, I would want a girlfriend for fame. But if you were to ask me when I'm in more of my neutral state, I would say no, I genuinely would want one, because this world we live in is very cruel, and it's the last thing you want to do is try to tackle life's cruelty on your own. You know, you're always going to need someone, whether it's family, friends, significant other, you name it.
You know, man, I think human beings were not meant to have a visualization or you know, very detailed conceptualization of their public reputation. You know, in times before social media, like, you knew your reputation because of the talk of the town, right? But you didn't have a detailed information site that basically had like real numbers involved and was constantly like feeding you information about whether or not, you know, like, you can feel validated about things. And just, I don't know if the human mind was made to cope with that.
I think this is on a somewhat unrelated subject, but I have to agree with you that social media has changed the aspect of life in one way. A very good instance, I thought about this. Have you ever seen that meme on YouTube about the news lady who was trying to like squish grapes with her feet and she fell over on YouTube?
No.
Okay, so it's a very famous meme. It was basically it was a news crew that were talking about like making great wines or something, and the news anchor was trying to crush them, and she basically fell over, and her cries of pain were pretty comical to the internet, at least.
Really?
Yeah, it actually was. I'm not
That's
sure
bad,
if you can probably put in. I'm not sure if you can legally put in the video, but you can try to at least and see what happens. But if you are going to insert a clip, but basically what it is that this happened during the early '90s when social media didn't happen. So people were wondering what happened to her, essentially, and of course she was. If you want to get the idea, she was fine. But the thing is that her at that time, the you know, if something like that happened, no one would know except for like the people within the news station who saw the footage and like people who saw it on their TVs. But of course, in the '90s, social media wasn't a thing, so the information didn't spread much further out than some tiny ass city, right? But in I think 05 or 06, the video resurfaced because of the internet, and it literally, I don't remember what the meme was called, but it was like falling news lady or something like that, and she literally became like the famous talk of the town. And that's just going back to what you were saying, how back in the day, you know, your sources of information was just the traditional means, mail, newspaper, stuff you see on TV. And now we live in an era where you know if your friend's getting married because they put it they put it on this device that you've seen, you can see within 2 seconds. I mean, it's amazing, like how far we came, like here, I'm checking social media right now, and I'm looking, and
as everyone is comparing themselves to one another now.
Yeah, definitely. Like, for example, okay, here I'm looking at Facebook legitimately right now. I put up my iPhone, and I just found out my friend graduated from the Marines. If we were in like the 80s, Elvis, would I have known about that?
No, you wouldn't have. Not until like.
Yeah, we've gone a long way, and I feel like you're also correct about how the human mind. Can you even go as far as saying that the human mind isn't capable of handling all the influx of information that we're getting now from social media? Like, think about it. For the longest time until the 90s, our basis of information is very limited, like I said. But after the 90s, it's just bloom. And do you think our human brains just can't cope with the sensory overload of information we're getting?
Sensory overload is a way of putting it that I wouldn't agree with. I wouldn't agree with that it has anything to do with sensory overload.
Okay, I probably used the wrong word, but you were saying.
Yeah, I mean, I know you were just kind of using a word,
Mm-hmm.
but I would say it's less about sensory overload and more about social dynamics.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's one way of putting it.
Because before we didn't have this, whole complexity to social dynamics where we had these identity tags, as I call them, and where we all basically we can basically each track each other's reputation online and the image that you portray yourself as online. It's just, and then we all compare each other's identity tags and then feel upset or jealous of the other person and that kind of thing.
Yeah, and I actually want to pitch a question to you. It's definitely a big future question, but it doesn't involve us, it involves the general population.
Okay.
Say, there's always the talk of the town about if we lost the internet, the world would go into chaos because we rely on it so much for everything, not only for personal reasons but for business reasons too, and essentially the internet's what makes our world go around. How do you think us as human beings would cope if just the next day the internet just didn't exist anymore? I mean, I know that's a general question, and it's pretty broad, but how do you think we would cope? Do you think, and also to extend on that, sorry, I know you're about to answer, but do you think we could, if we could handle it, do you think, how would we? And if you think we couldn't handle it, what makes you think so?
Okay, and we're talking about the internet being gone forever, or just for how long?
It's gone. Like it's
gone forever.
It's gone. It something happened, and if we were to get the internet back, it's gonna be like at least 50 to 100 years from now to rebuild the infrastructure and whatnot.
Okay, that's an interesting question. Actually, yeah, obviously, first of all, man, it would be such a big shock to everyone's system.
Mm-hmm.
People would be lost and confused. Communication would be destroyed from so many people.
Mm-hmm.
Countries would have a harder time communicating. So there's that, and so there'd probably be a lot of socioeconomic problems and famines and stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
But after humanity figured out how to cope without the internet,
mm-hmm.
I think that people would become happier. I think that countries would become a little bit more agrarian. It would be like this weird peace and health phase, I think.
Mm-hmm.
People would, start valuing things like farming more again. The technological growth would slow dramatically.
Would you say that the world would essentially be a quote unquote happier place then?
It would after a good 100 years, of folly and growing pains and trying to reset. But
mm-hmm.
after that.
And let me ask you even another future question beyond that is, when we do get our internet back 100 years, 200 years from now, say, do you think would history be repeating itself again? Would we fall into this phase of social media and the negativity of it, or do you think we would as a whole be smart enough to outgrow the negatives of social media and grow upon it?
Well, by this point, social scientists would have studied the effects on society and psychology and people over the course of 100, 200 years without social media versus the data that we gathered from having, social media and the internet, I should have said. So by that point, perhaps the conclusions we would have made about how for society and humanity to live more prosperously in the case that the internet came back would be enough to basically change our ways and allow us as a society, as a humanity, to use the internet for the better good. But then again, with any big technology, with any big tool like that, any think about what tools are from an anthropological standpoint. Tools are something to give you power. It's like it gives you an advantage of some sort. So everybody's going to start using this. And if there's anything that gives someone power, someone will find a way to abuse that power. So obviously it's going to be a slow degradation because it's just inherently a tool that gives people lots of power. And so yeah, there would be a lot of bad, but I think we will be able to, on an individual level, be able to cope with it better. There'd be I think a little bit more control over it. We would have probably learned a lot of things. And I think one thing about humans, they fuck up a lot whenever they create new technology, but they later find out how to make that technology somehow so much better. They find out how to make it for an extreme good. It's like for every bad apple, there's a really good apple, It's just like on the internet right now, we have something called, you can pay like $187 for something called Masterclass. And you can take unlimited classes by the biggest fucking, names. Like you can take a writing class by Dan Brown on there. It's like that information to spread into the world to make people smarter. It's just like that's something good. That's something that's good out of the internet that man has created. And so I don't know if that ramble sesh answers your question, but
hey, no, it does. And that's, I never thought of it that way. That's amazing. So you heard it then and here, folks. We should just raid Google's servers and pull the plug.
Oh shit!
I'm joking about that, but that's one outcome, because most people you project that question to, you're only going to get the short answer. The world being chaos, civil wars are going to happen. The communication is locked down, and this world wouldn't be able to survive. And if you think about it, before the 90s. The 1990s, we've been surviving. Well, I guess you said before the 1980s, we've been living in an era before the internet.
Exactly.
Our world was still going around. The New York Stock Exchange was long before big projection screens and 20 monitors projecting the ups and downs of certain stocks. The stock exchange was just still functioning like it was in whenever it got reinstated in the 1900s up to now. It's still doing its thing.
Dude, the only thing that can make the human race go extinct is God.
You're not wrong.
I mean, dude, the human race can't go extinct, man. We've adapted to so much. It's just like, and we're all over the world. It's just
we survived the weirdest weathers. We've survived the most insane stuff, and you're not wrong. You're definitely not wrong. Hitler tried to wipe out a specific entire religious group and failed in doing so. And see where we are now, And that's just, I'm just throwing that out as an example, and you're definitely not wrong. Someone of that, to wipe out the human race has to be someone of that power. Some might argue that a nuclear weapon being detonated might cause end of the world, and maybe in some ways that might be true, but if you think about it, there's always going to be the few designated survivors, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So that's a really interesting way that you talk about the social media, internet, part, Elvis, because like I said, most just give you the shorthand. Of course, the next 5 years is going to be chaos. People are going to be insane. But if you think about it, 100 years after we got used to this, what would happen? And what if we got the internet back when this society changed?
And who knows? Maybe it wouldn't even be chaos. Maybe we would find alternatives for communication pretty fast. Maybe humans are pretty good at inventing stuff. maybe like localities in different places would find ways to survive and prosper in the midst of the chaos.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it wouldn't even be that bad. Maybe it would actually be instantly better.
And if you think about it, you're right. Technology is a tool. Think about how communication has evolved in many ways. We literally went from sending letters via horse carriage to putting them on planes and whatnot.
Getting little doves to send notes and stuff.
Yeah, and like electronically, think about it. We went from the telegraph, Morse, communicating via Morse codes of dashes and lines, dots and lines, dots and dashes. And we've gone from there to the telephone, from the telephone to a very, 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 very rudimentary form of the internet called dial-up, and from there it's just prospered after that, and it's just insane how we can go from. Can you think about it? Like, we literally sent information on a copper line via just dots and dashes, and we're using pretty much essentially at the core the same copper lines to transmit pictures and 4K video. Our podcast is people who are listening on these podcasts are literally listening it at the core through these same copper lines.
Copper line.
That has been used to carry voices, to carry, dots and dashes and stuff like that. Can you just imagine, dude? Like,
it's even amazing. I don't even understand how fucking microphones actually work, let alone how the information travels through a copper line. I don't understand how that fucking happens.
It's funny enough I took a class on that, but we're definitely not going to explain the history of the microphone on this podcast, but I can definitely answer your question on that. But it is amazing if you think about it. How do we take something, the vibrations of our voice, and in the end, basically encode it as a digital file of ones and zeros?
It's amazing, man.
How do we do that? Of course, there's a big process to all this, but can you imagine the guy who designed that?
Well, the generations of people that designed it?
Well, yeah, actually, the generations of people. The fact that I can talk to you, and it's all being recorded in a series of just... it's legitimately just being...
dude, and this is leading into the whole idea of AIs and...
Yeah, I know, right?
Fucking the AI thing, that's a big conversation. I don't even know if we want to touch that shit.
Oh, boy. We definitely have to touch it for another day, but...
That's another podcast.
Definitely.
Damn.
But, yeah, that's a good question. And can you imagine, the people who are listening to these podcasts now are basically listening to those ones and zeros that we recorded and are being converted back into waves that our ears can listen. Because we can't physically listen to ones and zeros. We can't. It's just... Have you listened to digital noise before? It sounds like static.
Yeah.
And our brains can't perceive that. Only, dedicated machines can do that. And they have to convert analog back to digital and digital back to analog. That's just the core of it.
That's crazy, man.
Can you imagine what world we live in? It's great to be alive, man. Can you imagine the world we live in? Aren't you glad that we're living in an era where, despite our hardships, we get to see stuff like, self-driving cars, although I almost died.
Bro.
Died with that.
Yeah.
So, can you imagine, dude, like, the amazing world we live in where, look at it. Isn't a great time to be alive? We have self-driving cars, albeit I almost died from one. We have drones that can take spectacular footage that, places can't, and,
No, it's fucking amazing, dude. It's just like, man, I am thankful that I'm alive today, man. I complain, I bitch and moan about a lot of shit, but at the end of the day, it's like...
Life is good.
Life's incredible, man.
It is. The fact that I can legitimately have a conversation with you and have other people listen to this, Can you imagine if we were in the 70s?
That's actually a beautiful thing. If you think about it, man, that's the cool thing about humans. You can find out how to make anything for the best possible good. It's like we sat here and talked for a whole hour about how cancerous social media was and how bad it's had an effect on society. And here, wrapping it up full circle at the end of this podcast, talk about how beautiful it is and how good it can be. It is
definitely. If I had to picture something, and I probably gonna sound stupid over the podcast, but as you know, I'm a very big fan of the Grand Theft Auto series. But one game in particular that I always think about every time I think about the negative, how bad life is, and I want to do a full circle and say how good it is. I played Vice City, and it's a very bad game, not a bad game, but long story short, this guy basically gets his family murdered, and he's just trying to get revenge. And in the end, legitimately, the end cut scene of Vice City was this guy puts his hand around his like business partner / friend, and just puts his hand around and just says, "Ain't it beautiful? Ain't it beautiful?
Ain't it beautiful?"
You know, this guy literally went from his family got murdered in a drug deal gone wrong to he's just standing on top of a penthouse looking over Miami downtown Miami of the the palm trees and everything, and just saying, "Ain't it beautiful, man?" You know, isn't it good that we're alive to see this? And I think about that scene. You know, albeit it is a dumb video game from a fictional story, but if you think about it now, life is going to smack us down. We're going to go through hardships. Blood, sweat, tears will happen. But in the end, you just gotta climb the roof, man. Climb a mountain and just look over the beauty. I mean,
dude, man, life is beautiful because of that, man. It's an infinite balance, an infinitely expanding balance of chaos and order. Mm-hmm. And the fact that we have the opportunity to face the challenges of chaos and make the cognizant choice to try to overcome it and put our lives in order for the better good and to somehow spread that around us. The fact that we have the opportunity to attempt that challenge it's a very good thing. It's a miracle, man. You know, it's just, if you think about it, man, like, the only reason we even have identities, the only reason we're not just some basically spiritual, like, cloud that's just essentially an extension of God, mm-hmm. is because of chaos, because of evil, because of the fact that we even have identities is because of chaos.
That's a very famous.
And that's a beautiful thing, man.
That's a very famous guy once put it on a somewhat unrelated but related subject. You know, you can't essentially function if it wasn't for chaos. Basically, that's not exactly what he said, but basically, you can't always be living life in the positives. There always has to be something that will bring you down to bring you back up, and that's just how life is. And that's how I'm a firm believer of the saying, "Shit happens for a reason," or the more PG version of that is everything happens for a reason. I believe it. Whether it's the worst of the worst or the best of the best, everything happens for a reason. There might be a reason right now why I'm sitting on this table talking to you about how we went from social media is the worst thing ever, and we were listening to our podcast back then about saying how we had big goals and big dreams, and we went to a full circle about how life is amazing. You know, dude,
that's the thing about social media. This is the reason it can be so good. Is because every piece of information you put out so that the entire world basically has the opportunity to see it potentially, mm-hmm. means that every word you say has an unseen but profound ripple effect, man.
And,
ripple effect, dude, throughout the fucking entire city.
And, again, just going back to,
ideas influence people, man.
Definitely. I mean, a very good example is just, very recently, as of when we made this podcast, the El Paso and Dayton shootings happened, and, the news coverage did nothing but cover this massacre, this terrible massacre that happened. And if you look upon it, the news just kept going at it, and you're thinking, okay, there's no positive to this life. It just seemed like the world was just ending of just endless massacres of people getting gunned down and protests happening in other countries. And there was this break in the light where this one news showed this one kid who had cerebral palsy, I think, or some he couldn't move. He couldn't move his leg for some reason, and out of nowhere, this kid was like probably 5, right? And out of nowhere, this other guy and this boy and girl, probably around the same age as him, legitimately held each of his arms and helped him walk across, because this guy had problems where he couldn't walk properly, and especially over a prolonged period of time, his muscles just freeze up and he can't walk. And these two friends just came out of nowhere. Strangers came out. They were at a water park or something like that, and they basically helped him walk across and made his day. And I'm telling myself, this is why the world is an amazing place. Despite all these massacres, there's still good people with hearts out there, wanting to help one another, and it just makes you want to smile, man.
Yeah, sure does.
I definitely don't want to drag this out longer.
By the way, I love how you do that. I love how I put an interesting philosophical idea in the abstract, and then you take my abstraction and put it into real world form. Like, you're good at coming up with examples. You must read a lot of news stories and stuff like that.
Oh, I mean, I do. Without going on a tangent, a lot of people mock me for not watching movies and for reading the news a lot, but it definitely comes in clutch in my opinion.
Dude, I listen to a lot of ideas. Like, most of these stuff I listen to on YouTube is It's basically like psychologists and philosophers
And
talking.
there's
their
definitely
mind,
there's
man.
definitely nothing wrong with that.
But I love that. I love that. That's why we have such a great rapport, because I put out the abstraction. You take the abstraction and translate it into a real world example.
Essentially, I think that's amazing. Like I mean,
It
like
is.
you know, I watch the news on the daily, so I get the real world information of stuff. You watch YouTube with abstract ideas, and it's like a puzzle piece. You put like a mythical quote or saying out there, and I translate that into this is what a real world life event is, and
Here's how it applies to what you're saying.
Bob's your uncle, essentially. There you go. You know,
That's an amazing thing, man.
life is good, people.
Life is good, guys.
Stay snazzy out there. Drink your cup of coffee. If you don't drink coffee, drink water. I don't know anymore.
You guys didn't get to. You guys were probably looking forward to hearing my relationship stuff, but you'll have to wait for another podcast.
Not only that,
I hope you guys enjoyed this.
Not only that, but let's not forget this guy here was trying to drag about me trying to get a hitman on one of my friends. Essentially, JK did that, but that actually didn't go down. But,
yeah,
you know.
that's for another podcast.
Oh yeah, probably.
Stay tuned for the next episode. This time, you know what, man? This podcast went so well, just free flow style. I like this free flow format.
We need to do free flow.
Last time we tried to cage ourselves, man, and we're free birds. We tried to stick to a rigid format. It was shit.
We tried to plan.
It was shit.
We actually, the funniest thing is we did try to do a take one of this version, and it just went
like
bad.
a year ago, dude. And it was, we tried to do a rigid format structure. It was fucking no. We're free birds. We got to act like it, man.
And it's amazing. We
Skype,
discussed like
Skype podcast.
definitely Skype podcasts.
Well, we got to start doing those, because I think this was a great example of how we can take any topic and turn it into a great conversation.
Skype podcasts, let's do it.
I honestly think you and Will On could even do it. Really.
I feel like anybody can do it. That's your inspiration of the day, folks.
My friends.
Yeah, I don't know what else to say.
Thank you so much. It means the world to me that you listen, that you let my voice enter your ear holes. Along with my good friend Mathew here, man. I love that the world has given him an opportunity to talk to him, and that's a beautiful thing to me, man, because I feel like people don't really understand Mathew. I feel like he's a very misunderstood individual.
Let's not put the spotlight on me too much.
I feel like people really don't give him the opportunity to show the light of his heart. Everyone has a spark of divinity in their soul, and I've seen this guy's spark. And
everyone has hardships, and everyone has their their positives.
So this is a good thing, dude. This is like, that's why this podcast is a good thing, man. It's
definitely.
Like, you need to put yourself out there more, man.
Oh, I will.
Whenever you do put yourself out there, though, a lot of times it's some weird toxic thing about.
Oh no, I guess I'm doing it the wrong way. I'm just trying to cut my negativity down, but I don't.
You've been
like
a lot better about it, but
I don't. But anyways, I'm gonna do the ending for Elvis's compelling conversation. So, thanks for listening to this podcast. Feel free to subscribe to Compelling Conversation. Like the video if you thought our topics were amazing, and I heard clicking that bell for future videos does pretty well if you want to know when Mr. Elvis here fires off a new Compelling Conversation video. And with that said, thanks for listening as always.
Goodbye, my friends.